One of the most common problems beginners face is when they have space in the name. It is a very common issue I noticed with my students, and it's really hard to figure out the first time if you don't know what is going on. Every time you have a space in a name of a file, a name of a directory, or even like a Git branch, it's always going to cause you problems. There's ways to get around it. Even if you have a space, you can, as long as you're consciously dealing with it. But if you don't consciously deal with the fact that there's a space in the name, that is always going to be a problem. And in this tutorial or in this video, I'm going to show you the issue and I'm going to show you the solution. All right. I'll show you the same issue on a window, but most of my video is going to be on a Mac because the concept is the same and the solution is almost exactly the same, whether you're on a Mac or on Windows. So everybody will benefit from this video. Okay. So what I'm talking about is whenever you name a folder or a file, you put a space in the name, which is typical. Naturally, that's what we tend to do. But if you're a programmer, if you're an engineer working with the system, that's usually a cause for errors, a cause for problems, and you just have to deal with it. Okay. So for example, I'm here in the Finder, and I have a folder. So I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to say right click, new folder. And I'm going to call it let me do it lowercase, my project. Okay. So normally that's what you would do, my project, and you're tempted to create a name with a space, my project. Now let me show you the issue with that. So in programming, most of the thing you do is actually on the terminal, right? You pretty much everything we do is on the terminal. You don't actually use a UI as often. So now let's say I want to go into this directory, right? CD. Right, change directory. That's one of the most common commands we run. So let's see what happens. In fact, first I have to go to where that is. I'm going to go to demos, demo space and names. Okay. So if I do ls, as you can see, there is a folder there. I can do ls-la. It will show me my folder there, my project. Now, if I want to go into it, you would think you would just type cd my project, right? Hit enter. It is going to give me an error. So the error is going to be different most of the time, string not in PWD, whatever that means. But it's basically saying my, right? It's trying to go to my, because in the terminal, how do we always put commands? We have a command, space, option, space, option, space, option, right? Everything is separated by space. So whatever your command you're running, whenever it sees a space, is going to think it's an end of one thing and a beginning of another thing. It's not going to automatically know the space is part of that one thing you're trying to do, that one directory or that one file. It thinks, oh, there's a space, so there's something else coming up. Okay, that is the issue. So when I do cd that, I definitely run into an issue. So the solution, the good thing is the solution is super easy. All you have to do is put it in quotes, double quotes. Okay, so I'm going to do cd quote my project. Voila, it actually worked. If I do pwd, I can go in that project. That's one way to do it. So let me clear this. Let me back up. That is the recommended way. That's the best way. Just put it in quotes. Whatever file you're dealing with, whatever folder you're dealing with, if there's a space in it, put it in quotes. Another example I'll show you quickly in Windows is a lot of your programs are in program files, right? So let's go to my Windows real quick. So for example, I'm trying to execute Python. So in my Python executable is in this folder here. So I'm going to copy the path, but you see that program files by default, it has space. You can't do anything about that. You didn't create that folder. That comes with Windows. It's one of the Windows system directory. So you're not going to rename it. If you rename that, you might cause all kinds of problems. So you're just going to have to deal with it. So let's see what the issue is. So I'm going to go to CMD and I'm trying to execute the Python executable. So I'm going to do cd, not cd. I'm just going to actually execute the script. So I'm going to put the path and I'm going to do python.exe. Hit enter. That is not going to work. It's saying C program is not recognized because there's a space right here, right? So it's going to get to the space and it's going to think everything up to the space is one thing. After the space is another thing. There's no way it's going to know. But if I put it in quotes, if I put double quote, put the whole thing, do python.exe, close the quote, hit enter. Now it knows that whole thing is going to take it literally. It's literally one thing. Okay. So that's how you deal with it. Basically, I'm going to show you more examples. but that is the key. Put everything in quotes. That would save you so much headache, so much problem. And I'm creating this video because I see my students creating the same issue again and again and again, because our human nature, whenever we create names, we put space in there. My project, right? My space project, my code, my space code. So I just want to show you how to avoid that. So I'm going to show you a few more examples. I just showed you examples with directories. I can show you examples with files. Same thing here. Oh, one more thing. You can use escape character if you don't want to use quotes for some reason. Let's say you have too many quotes or something like that already. You can use escape character. This doesn't work on Windows, at least not on CMD, but on Mac you can do cd my. You can add escape character. So when you add escape character, it's basically telling you the next thing that comes up, don't consider it as a special thing. Consider it literally. So I'm going to put the space now, and I can do projects, and that will actually work. So you can use escape character right here. That's an option. If you're on a Mac or on Linux, that's an option. You can do it on Windows, but not at least in CMD. I'm sure there are ways to do it. So I'm going to go back one time. If you use a tab, right? I always tell everybody to, like, when you're navigating in the terminal, don't type the whole thing out. Use tabs. Type the first few letters, hit tab, and it will finish it for you. So if I do cd, right, and if I just type M and hit tab, it finished it for me. But the way it does it is it will put escape character in there. So adding escape character is a good option. But what if you have a file path that has like 5 different spaces? You're going to keep adding a space character, escape character on everywhere, right? That's annoying. It's better to just put it in quotes and get it over with, right? You copy it from somewhere, put it in quotes, and get it over with. That actually is the easier solution, and it is a recommended solution. Okay, so let me show you another example. And here I'm going to create a file. I'm going to say touch my. Again, if I want to create a script called myscript.py, right? If I hit enter, again, the touch command, touch is a command to create file. You just create an empty file. As soon as it hits a space, it's going to think it's something else. So let me hit enter. There are no errors, but if I do ls, you can also see it up above here. But if I do ls, it created 2 different files. It created the my file and the scripts.py file, because every time it hits a space, it thinks those are 2 different things. Touch, my, one thing, space, another thing, script. So you want to avoid that. So if you get a chance to create the file yourself or the folder yourself, always use underscore or dash for your name. I always use underscore. So instead of my script, I'm going to create touch my underscore script.py. That's my go-to. That's really always what I always do that. Like by now, I'm really familiar with that. So I always do that. So I never deal with this space issue. But if I end up dealing with a space issue, then I know what the problem is. So I put quotes around it. If I'm working with a file system that I did not create, a folder that I did not create, and it happens to have a space, then I already know I'm going to have to put quotes at the beginning and at the end of it, okay? So that's really how it will work. When you create it, if you do want to create with the space, then you still, again, you can add quotes around it. So I can do touch quote my space script.py, close the quote, hit enter, ls, my file actually got created. And if I want to actually execute it, I can do Python. Again, I would have to put it inside of quote my scripts.py, hit enter, it will execute that file. Okay, so the main goal, what you have to get out of this is, if you're creating a file, a folder, don't put a space in it, right? It will save you a lot of headaches down the line. Let's say you did already do that, you have a space in there, or you're working with a file somebody else created, then put it inside of quotes, okay? Put it inside of quotes when you're running commands, and that will solve a lot of the issues. And it should be obvious what the problem is. Usually the error somehow will tell you just the first part, right? Let's say I'm going to say touch my space new script.py. So I created this file, but if I want to actually run it, if I say Python my new script.py, it's going, well, it didn't complain, but it didn't run anything because this file doesn't actually exist. If I open it, then my new, right, and I'm going to print hello just to see that it actually did not run. Okay, and I'm going to repeat the previous command. It actually didn't run. We didn't print hello because it tried to run my, probably. If I remove my and try to run the same script, it actually complained. Earlier it didn't complain because we had a file called my. It's not a Python file, it's just a file, but it existed. Now that my doesn't exist, it's saying no such file. So the hint should be, it's complaining about a file you didn't ask it about. In this case, it's saying can't open file my. But I never told you to open my. I told you to open my new script, right? So why are you complaining about my? That's how you have to think about it. The reason it's complaining about my and not my new script, because it's trying to open the first thing it finds. So whenever you get an error saying I can't open this, but you never really asked for this, then that's what you have to think about is, do I have a space in the name? Okay, so I see this giving people a lot of headache, and hopefully this will help you if you run into this kind of issues. And this has been a tip. If you like videos like this, follow me, subscribe to my channel. All I do is create educational content for primarily for QA automation. I teach automation, which is an amazing career, and Python based automation right now, and eventually I'll get into Java stuff. But please like this video. It would really help with the algorithm, and subscribe to the channel. You'll learn a whole lot from me. Thank you for watching.